morning, everybody. I don't usually do this, so forgive me with the filter and everything, but I'm not usually show your face on social media type of person. But my name is Joy, and I started Brave Life, and that was inspired by my son Brave. So what I'm trying to do today is the beginning of like a series of videos that we can do just to go through something called the Down Syndrome Resource Pack, which, if you know Brave Life, you'll know we've put together like a digital file full of resources for children and their parents who have Down syndrome, and that's to help kids with Down syndrome to flourish, to really do well. And the resources are from places like the Trisomy 21 Research Foundation, or a bunch of medical articles online, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Center for Disease Control and such. So it's really good information that equips parents to understand the condition and also know what they can do to help their child with their diet, with exercise and such. So I want to go through this file on a video because I've realized a lot of people don't like reading, which I do. So I'm going to take you guys through the first article. And the first article is by somebody called Dixie Lawrence, and she is part of the Trisomy 21 Research Foundation in America. And the question she answers in this article is, why does my child have Down syndrome? So it was initially thought that so let's start at the beginning. Obviously, you know that Down syndrome means they have an extra 21st chromosome on their DNA. So instead of having 2 copies of the 21st chromosome, they have 3. And so it happens at a genetic level. And Dixie was part of some research that kind of found one of the possible causes why that happens. So she did some research quite a while ago, and they found that a mother can have 3 genetic defects that she might not be aware of that can cause interference in how the body uses folate, or it can cause maternal folate deficiency. Also can be connected with other chromosomal issues, or like things like spina bifida. Right. So the problem happens at something called meiosis, and that is before your egg gets fertilized, it has to split in half to prepare to be fertilized. And when that split in half happens, 23 chromosomes go this way, 23 go that way. And then when a sperm comes, it's going to bring half of the DNA from the daddy, and they're going to mix and make a new baby. So what happens is there are these little arms in each half of the eggie, and they're supposed to pull the DNA strands like this. Now, if the mom is folate deficient at the moment that is happening, sometimes a piece can stick on one side or the other side, causing one to have 22 chromosomes and the other to have 24 chromosomes. And that's a problem at meiosis. Okay, so I'm trying to keep things simple, sorry for the interruption, and not get too much into the complicated science. But basically, what this means is if you have a folate deficiency, at the moment that your egg is splitting, then that can cause your child to have Down syndrome. And they found that there are some gene mutations associated with it. Where is that? Okay, which I'll share it in the comments, I guess, or in the description. So this obviously isn't anybody's fault. It's not your fault if this happens. And if you're unaware, for example, if you have an MTHFR gene mutation and you're not aware that can cause this problem, it's one of the ones associated with it. So that is often why doctors suggest that moms take folate when they want to conceive. And the one thing that I've learned is that the type of folate that you take matters. If you take folic acid, for example, and you have an MTHFR gene mutation, the folic acid is not going to work for you. You need a methylated form, which is methylfolate. So these are all forms of B9. So if you want to be careful about preparing for this, if you want to have a kid, you could do tests beforehand to check your B9 levels, see if you have an MTHFR gene mutation. Or you can just take methylated folate, high doses will be good, within the safe recommended dosages. That should help. And then obviously there might be other causes, but this is the one cause that's been researched and found to be associated with Down syndrome. So what is important for parents to know is that your baby's 23rd chromosome usually comes from right at the beginning of their existence. And it's not something that you ate during pregnancy. It's not because you got sick or your partner smoked, or I don't know. There are so many, I've heard lots of myths. Maybe you guys can share myths in the comments if you know of one. But so as you can see, it's usually a deficiency, a diet that's low in folate, or if you're not taking supplemental folate, that can be a problem. So it is very important for moms to understand it's not your fault. And if you're already there, I'm there as well. My son was born with Down syndrome, and I didn't know any of this. And I wish I had known, because I would have probably taken folate during pregnancy taken a bunch of other stuff. So what I've learned is you can take supplements while you're pregnant. Even if you know your child has Down syndrome, they can benefit them, since the biochemistry of a child with Down syndrome is very researched and understood. All right, let's see what else we need to know here. Okay, too much folic acid does not cause Down syndrome unless the folate isn't metabolized and it becomes trapped. So if your body can't process folic acid well, it might just stuff it into cells, and then that results in both a folate deficiency and trapped unmetabolized folic acid in your body. So it's not just the MTHFR gene. Let's see, where are they? There are other portions as well. So there are obviously also different kinds of Down syndrome, and I want to talk about those in a different video. Let me just see if there's anything else here that's important. Okay, so another question that parents often have is, why don't all my children have Down syndrome? And this is because it really is dependent on the state of the egg at the moment of conception, and maybe some eggs are viable and others aren't, and it just so happens that this egg at this point in time might have had the arm not working nicely where the other one did, or the state of your body metabolically was different when you got pregnant. So just because one child has Down syndrome doesn't guarantee all of them will, unless you've got the hereditary type, which I'll talk about in a different video. And then another question, why is it rare for the father to contribute the extra chromosome? So mostly scientists believe that this is because the egg repels and prevents other sperm from entering once one has entered, and they think possibly few trisomic sperm survive meiosis, or the different genetic material could affect the mobility of the sperm, and maybe trisomic sperms are not fertile. So that means the egg is usually the cause and not the sperm. But like I said, that doesn't mean that it's your fault, and I'm with you. This is a very random thing that happens, and it's not even fully understood. But what this does mean is, if you want to get pregnant, take methylfolate. And if you have a baby with Down syndrome, be encouraged that there are things you can take. There's things you can do to help your child. Let's see here. These are 5 tips that are in the article. Avoid stress. Don't drink alcohol. Don't take anything containing EGCG like apples, black tea, green tea. Take a multivitamin containing methylcobalamin, methyl tetrahydrofolate, and betaine, and give yourself 3 cycles prior to attempting conception. Thanks, everyone.